My last show jumping session in Switzerland, so it was 140 class with my own horse, 9 years old horse that we breed ourselves in the region, and that which I'm riding since he's 4 years old. I mean 3.5 actually, even if in between he was on the field, and I slowly build him up until that level this year. So it was like two weeks ago in we call it the city called Ether. In Münchmir, and I started with the 130 class, and the second class was 140. So the outcome was 1 down at the entrance of double combination, an oxer and vertical. So I did the first pole on the oxer. And what I like with collecting data also in competition is that we can quickly check if the feelings that we have as a rider are matching with the data, or if sometimes we are missing something. So I remember that in another class earlier this year, my coach told me you were much slower on the first one on the second round, and I just checked the data, and actually the speed was exactly the same as the first round, and I did 1 down on number 1 on the second class. So I say no, it's something different. So you can, impression is something, but then when you check the data, you can have a confirmation about this, or if you need to go deeper or find something else. So yeah, let's have a look on the video first, and then I will comment also the video with my own feeling as I was riding, and then we can check the data, what it looks like. We started with a first line number 1 and 2 with 8 canter strides. My horse has a lot of action, so big strides, so it's quite easy to, even if it's a bit forward, so he can do great, great jump and then collection on the last stride. So I had a very good feeling with the horse, so he was jumping very well. I go slightly in the front here and keeping always the pace. And here also, sometimes he slightly goes to the left, so you will see in the data, but overall he's quite straight. Here, I would say it started, so I come a little bit too deep on the palanque here, but he did a great job, so I wanted to push him forward, and you can see here, so I'm pushing too much, and then the horse is a bit flatter. And then continues to the last line with 5 stride, a little bit collected at the end. And you can see here he doesn't like to go to the corner, so he's going a little bit to the left. And then a good jump on the last one here. And that's it.
This analysis is on the web application, but you can see the same thing if you were to use the mobile app as well.
Exactly. We have exactly the same information on every types of devices, from iPad to Android, iOS, or Mac or Windows computers. So basically, you have on the left all the sessions that you record. You can also add some context like blacksmith or vet check and so on. But today we will really focus on the analysis of the current ride. At the top, you have a timeline with every event happening, like a walk, trot, canter, standing, and jumps. You have the jumps here at the top with different colors, and every vertical lines are striped. So the highest the bar is, the highest the stride was. So you can see that, for example, the landing strides, the strides are always or usually lower and also shorter. So that's something very common when a horse is jumping. And then you have different data to analyze your ride, such as the balance, so the equilibrium of the horse, longitudinal, lateral. You have the stride length, height, the duration, even the speed, cadence, and so on. and the top view path mapping. So you can see from like a GPS mapping every stride from the beginning until the end. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4 strides and so on. You can count them. You can see also the path of the jump if the horse went to the left, like here on the number 1, and so on. So you can really go deeper on every stride at every moment of your ride if you would like to.
And David, there's a little red dot on each jump. Is that to represent like the middle or the highest point, or what is that?
No, exactly. So it's the highest, the moment where the horse went to the highest point over
Okay.
the jump. So
Yep.
it's not the middle of the jump like the fences. It's really the peak here. You can see here the trajectories, we call it. So it's when you follow the horse going over the jump. So it's at the maximum point. So you
Okay,
can
cool.
see it's usually not perfectly in the middle. It's usually slightly after, the
Yes.
middle of the jump. So it
Yes.
depends also the type of the jumps. If the jumps are, longer, the horse will be a bit more flatter, and then the top of the jump will be also a little bit after. But it's also depending on the style of the horse, how the horse jumps. The other red point, this one is the maximum speed from the selection that you have. So if you have a longer ride, or for example at practice, so you can just select that portion and you will have the maximum speed of that moment. But
Yeah.
sorry, go ahead.
So I can see you've got meters per minute here. Is that because we the time allowed is measured in how they measure it is meters per minute? Is that I don't know if
Yeah,
I worded
exactly.
that correctly, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly. We are used to measure in competition, by meter per minute. So that's why I personally prefer to have it the same unit. But of course, in on the settings, you can select miles per hours or kilometer per hours. So you can really change, what you prefer. Sometimes to bring more context, a few change in meters per minute, sometimes it's difficult to represent, for the riders. So you can switch on kilometer per hours and you say, oh, okay, the change was like 10 kilometer per hours or more, and then you have another, uh, another perspective on that. So exactly, you can switch to whatever you want.
Okay, cool.
So the idea here is not to spend too much time on every metrics and every data, for 2 hours. It's really to stay focused on the round. We have a fault on that penalty on that jump, and I will share how I analyze my rides with the data. So the few things I really like to check is the longitudinal balance and the lateral balance of the ride. So here, this is from that selection. So from a few strides before the jump number 1 and a little bit after last jump, how I selected my, the slider here. So that's really key to see if your horse is well balanced, over the ride. I choose
And
at yeah, sorry, go ahead.
so first of all, my first observation is that is excellent, because when I look at my rounds, usually the lateral balance is mostly to the right by a few degrees. So how much is it my riding influencing that, or the horse's like natural is off balance? Like what? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good question. So that's a long, long discussion we have with some riders and and coaches. But from the different discussion we have with riders and also what we see, from all the data and the different studies that we conduct, um, most of the case it's the riders imbalance. So the horses are trying to, correct our imbalance. But if you change your positioning, you will see the results here improving. So I would say the data that we show, it's the results of both. The rider and the horse, balance on the ride. And if there is something off, usually it's the rider who is a little bit crooked or tilting more to one side. And sometimes you can see that also on the video, that the rider always look on the same side or over the fences, for example. But that's a huge topic.
Yes, maybe another episode we can talk about that.
Exactly. So quickly check those kind of metrics. I think it's really good. I always told the customers that in a way, a good ride is as much as important as a kind of bad ride, because the good rides, you can have references to compare another time or with another, for example, if you have a bad ride, you can say, oh, what I missed on that day. And then you can pick up your previous good ride. Good with a clear round, or when you have a good feeling and you have also the data like a bit like this, and you say, the horse was well balanced. So you can have that reference, and that's what I use usually. I will show you another metric that I like. It's the speed of the strides here, for example, versus the speed of the jumps here. So you can see that my horse is a little bit slower over the fences, which is usual for him. But of course, when you compare different show jumping competitions or even your practice, keep in mind that, that's something the coaches will tell you, that you need to compare the same like ground, the same context. So if you have a small arena, the horse won't have the same pace, the same speed, the same cadence, and so on. It will be maybe a little bit slower. The horse will then, and then that's something you need to keep in mind to, okay, I need to focus on my cadence and my speed to have approximately the same, speed over the jump or the same stride speed. But so I try to compare the same thing, with the same things, sort of.
Yes,
So
yeah, look, that makes so much sense. And it highlights the importance of when you are uploading your session to actually record the type of surface that you're competing on. So you don't need to remember that when you go to look back on your data and compare the sessions.
Exactly, yeah. So again, that's something common for my horse. And another metric that we like to track is the jump regularity or similarity. We changed to similarity because regularity, for some riders, it was like the symmetry of the gait. So that's a bit different. So we really compare how the horse jump over the jumps actually. And as you can see here, we have no stood out jump, because automatically the system will highlight the jumps that were really different from the average. And then we compare automatically that jump with the average. So,
So
here
with
the
your
horse was
score,
consistent.
sorry to interrupt, with your
No,
score
go
of
ahead.
like 88%, is that a good one? Is that needing improvement? What's the range that we're like targeting, and what does that mean when we reach that?
Of course. We, by discussing with different coaches and vets or physios, so we saw that over 85, 88% similarity, the horse is comfortable at that level. So which means that you can go or try the next level. So here it was 140. We see that the horse is quite regular, so we can consider next time to stay at 140 or maybe trying 145. But if the score is much lower, like 80 or 82, or the lowest, the highest it is, of course, the better it is. But we saw the range like that to be when the horse is comfortable, especially if you don't have any stood out jumps. So you can see that the horse, when you zoom, quite repeats perfectly some movement, and that's that's what we like, when you jump, that the horse is consistent and not over jump sometimes, or under jump a few times. So then so let's focus and come back to that jump. So it was here, the red jump. So if you click on it, you can see some metrics. And actually, what was interesting on that run is that when you compare that jump, so the 15A, you see that the horse jumped quite the same as the other jumps. However, when we compare with the previous one, sorry, not the 16, but the 14 here, so you can see the horse bouncing a bit more on the palanque. So the palanque was that one, the 14. So it was a smaller jump because the horse went, more straight like this. But you can see also that the approaching strides, the horse had to compress himself, go in the air. So we have a higher stride, and then did a great jump over the fence. My first feeling was that the horse was flatter on that fence, but you can see that's clearly not because the path is exactly the same. But what changes was the approaching strides. So the horse was indeed flatter, but on the last stride. So the last stride, if we check the video, we can see I'm a bit too much in the front with my shoulders, and the whole horse was a bit more open. We call it like that in uh, we when we analyze the rides. So my analysis here would have been just stay with my shoulder, more on the back. Don't push too much the horse on the last 3 or 2 strides here, and just stay in place, like sort of, and just let the horse jump, and it would have been fine for the horse to clear the fence. So that's it, in a way. So that's what I say to some riders when they see all those data. They think, oh, you spend hours analyzing the data. And I say, no, I just pick the jump. I have my feeling from my round, and then I try to figure it out, what changes here. And you can clearly see with the graphics, okay, that's a change here. And then, of course, if you want, you can go, okay, my horse went to the left here. Yeah, it's correct. Then I corrected him, and so on. You can analyze everything if you want. You can also even compare the warm up and so on. But basically, it just takes a few minutes to double check, your data, and then move on, on the next show.
Yeah, fantastic. That was really simple. I've probably been overcomplicating it, David.
No.
I'm a bit of a nerd, I think, when it comes to this sort of data. Okay, thank you. Let's move on to my session. So, again, my horse is 9 years old. I bought him when he was 6 and have been training him for the last 3 years. He was jumping at about 1 meter when I bought him. He is a warm blood cross thoroughbred, and now we're sort of at that meter 20 to meter 30 level. He's also a bit smaller, so 15.2 hands. And this competition that I'm going to share on my screen now was, again, about 2 weeks ago, 1 meter 25 at a place called Bonio Park in Victoria in Australia. All right. So I was definitely a little bit nervous. This is my first time competing at this venue, and it's about a 24-hour drive away from home. I watched a couple of really good riders before my round, and from 2 to 3, and then again from 3 to 4 was I walked it like, it could be what are we on? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I was like 6.5, 6.75, but these horses just really just did the 6 very comfortably. So I knew my horse having a good stride could lengthen. So I just kind of rode in there quite open, and he made those distances quite easily. And that, I feel like that set the rhythm and the pace for the rest of the round. We did go clear as well in this one. But for me, my feeling was like this was fast for us.
Yeah.
Here we go. And we finished 11th out of 87 competitors.
Congratulations! It's a nice run. Now,
Thank
if
you.
we stay on the same on the same data, that we would like to compare, I think it would be simpler, for people to understand. As you can see, of course, the horses are different. It's a different place and so on. But I think it's still interesting to compare a little bit the different types of horses. My horse is tall. He has a long strides, but he's quite fast. And yours is smaller, but need a bit more pace to make the balance of over the fences. And I think it was a really good ride. How you ride him, and you can clearly see here directly the differences, like we discussed, and you
Yeah.
said before about the balance. So as the horse, is a little bit more upwards. I mean, with the head, and I don't know if you remember, but mine is a bit more round, and yours
Yes.
have the heads a little bit up. So that's could explain, this 4.7 degrees back. That's a bit the style of the horse. I mean, don't pay too much attention that it's, don't say it's bad. It's the horse is like that. Check if you are at home and the horse can jump, with the longitudinal balance a little bit more, to the front, if it's better or not. But I think that shouldn't be, in my opinion, something that you should focus on. But the lateral balance, like you said, should be slightly improved, in my opinion.
Yes.
So,
I
yeah,
I
go ahead.
notice in the writing I've been doing this week, the word is proprioception, which is, that feeling that you can feel your entire foot. And I have this feeling in my right that I can feel everything, like feel the stirrup and with my right foot, but the left one is not, I don't have as much feeling in that, which tells me I naturally am to the right. And that's my dominant, that's the first foot that I put out when I take a stride,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. Yeah. So, if you can try to, to balance yourself, a bit more straight, because basically to the right means that the whole body of the horse is like that. That's one key point to improve. Then when you see the speed, compare it also, if we want to compare to my horse, so the speed is higher. As you say, your horse is uh, more speedy horse in a way, smaller but with more pace. And if we check the jumps also, so I remember on another sessions we also discussed together that your horse comfortable speed is around 400. I think it was 420, something like that, on the speed over the fences. But if it's much higher than that, it's when the horse is a bit too flat and can make some pull downs, right?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we looked at another round and he had that fence down and he was he was a bit faster than that. Yeah.
Exactly. And I think the key with that horse, in my opinion, is that you need to have a good pace on the jumps, but not too high, and of course not too low. And I think for the horse, too low, it won't be good for that horse, because it will ask the horse too much, to cover the fences, especially if you go higher. So the pace is, I think it's good, and need to keep that, in your head, and that's how I work. I have like a metronome, in my head, and I think, by feeling that speed, also at home when you try to have the same pace, then you can have the same feeling in competition, and you remember that pace, that the horse need to have, especially in the corners or on a smaller arena.
Yes, that is something I'm going to focus on and be training at home is the the feeling of that pace and fine tuning the metronome in my head to know when we are at that pace, and then obviously using the analysis to check, where we're at.
I remember that I think number 3, the horse went a little bit, faster on the fence and touch a little bit. So you can see here when you compare the average speed of all the jumps versus the number 3, the horse was like 44 meters per minute faster on that fence. So as soon as the horse goes, faster than those averages, he starts to touch. But when you can hold him, in place and then keeping the pace, and the cadence as well, so the horse jumped much better. I think that was a good ride, and small improvements. You can always improve. I think everybody can improve, but here you can have a confirmation about the speed of the jumps also versus the speed of the strides here. If you want, you can also. I think you talked about the strides in between, so you can check the fences, the jumps here, and you can focus on the strides before. So you can pick, you said it was 6 strides, right? And you can pick the stride before 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 between the jump 2 and jump 3, and visualize, the length, the height, the speed. So you can see here the horse was increasing his speed in the middle until the jump. The goal is not to increase the speed, faster, 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 and jump. It's to keep the same
Yes.
speed if possible.
Yeah, the same speed, the same rhythm. So you can see that I'm
Exactly.
actually speeding up
Yeah.
to each one. Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's good. I can definitely, be practicing that. I think a lot of more relaxation and rhythm.
You can practice also the consistency with the pull on the ground or the cavalities, and you can try to have the same pace in between. Then having 5 strides, for example, 5 and 5, or you do 6 and 4, or 4 and 6, and try to change those number of strides in between. And even doing smaller jumps, you don't need to jump 130 every 2 days, but just do like 80, 90 centimeters, and then or even 1 meter if you want to, and then try to relax and make the horse round and relax himself and yourself, of course.
Yes. Myself, I think, is the key to his relaxation. That's for sure.
But the horses are feeling a lot that our stress or our mentality. So I think when it starts from us, then it will go down
Down to them.
under you to them. Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, that's fantastic, David. I really, really glad that we took this time to debrief both the sessions, and we got to see like 2 different horses and how they go, and neither, the differences. Like, we shouldn't be looking for the same metrics between different horses, and it's great to understand that from your perspectives. And for everyone watching or listening, in the comments below, if you got some value from this video and you would like to see some more and have some ideas about what you'd like us to kind of do a deep dive in, then please put that in the comments, and we can do some more videos in the future. Well, thanks, David, for your time.
Thank you, Britt. It was a pleasure.